In this video, we'll explore how to use the Another Flow node and why it is important for building reusable automation components. Let me explain this with two practical examples. Example 1. In previous examples, we created a form inside a flow to collect the user's first name, last name, email, and gender. If you want to use the same form in multiple flows, rebuilding it every time would be inefficient and difficult to maintain. This is exactly where the Another Flow node becomes useful. Instead of recreating the same form in different flows, you can create the form in a separate flow and reuse it wherever needed. Let's see how this works. First, we create a new flow and build the form there. Inside this new flow, you do not need to configure a trigger if you don't want it to run independently. If the flow is meant to be used only through the Another Flow node, you can leave it without a trigger. Now when this flow is called, the first thing it does is check whether the tag lead form completed has already been assigned to the user. If the tag exists, it means the user has previously completed the form. In this case, nothing needs to happen, and the flow simply ends. When it ends, control automatically returns to the main flow that called it. If the tag does not exist, we proceed with the form. In this example, we collect the user's first name, last name, email address, and gender. However, you can ask for any information that fits your needs, such as phone number, address, age, marital status, occupation, or any other data required for your business. After collecting the information, the tag lead form completed is assigned to the user at the end of the flow using an action node. Now that the reusable form flow is ready, we go back to the original main flow. Inside the main flow, we remove the user input nodes that were previously collecting the information directly. Instead, we add a single Another Flow node in their place. In this Another Flow node, we select the reusable form flow we just created. Now, whenever this point in the main flow is reached, the reusable form flow is called. Once the flow reaches the end, it automatically returns to the original flow and continues from the point where the Another Flow node was placed. Example 2. Another powerful use case of the Another Flow node is building product or service category structures. In this scenario, you may want this flow to run both internally and directly. That's why in this case, you can define a trigger for it. For example, you create a main flow that displays your product or service categories using a gallery block. Each category, such as online piano training, can connect to a separate flow using the Another Flow node. When the user clicks on a category, they are redirected to the corresponding flow where the full details of that specific service are presented. Now here's where it becomes powerful. Inside each individual service flow, you can add a message such as, "If you'd like to explore our other services, click below." That button can use Another Flow again to return the user to the main category flow. This means a user can move from the main category flow to a specific service flow, or move from a specific service flow to the main category, creating a structured and connected navigation system. Since these flows can also function independently, you can define keyword triggers for them.